What is up, guys? Welcome back. We have a lot to cover. We're going to go over a Meta court update. They settled one of their court things. We're going to have Rubrik earnings. We're going to discuss what happened there. I also sold a bit of a stock. We'll discuss that as well. And I'll talk about 3 stocks to buy before the month of September. Without further ado, let's get straight into the video. So some big news came from Meta. They settled the child safety case, and the allegations were that Facebook and Instagram were designed to be addictive to children and harmed minors. The settlement that they agreed upon is worth up to $18 billion over 10 years. The settlement requires Meta to change how teenagers use Facebook and Instagram. There's going to be a 2-hour daily usage limit by default, but parents are able to lift this if other social platforms agree to this daily limit, however, and the other restrictions or agree to similar restrictions, then the daily limit goes down to 1 hour. There are nighttime restrictions, which means that from 12 a.m. to 6 a.m., it's going to be blocked for teens. Teens can't see likes or reaction counts on posts anymore. There's going to be stronger age assurance checks across the platform, and 30% of the settlement is conditional on TikTok and YouTube adopting other similar restrictions. So, what does this mean for the business and what does this mean for Meta? The dollar amount doesn't really change the business model, so that's not the big concern here. The rules and regulations, that's the concern. I think that teens are going to be able to get around this because they normally will. You can put rules in place, but you're not going to be able to force everyone to follow those rules. If other platforms adopt similar rules, it's going to hurt everyone equally. Um, Something to note, though, that is that most of the revenue that Meta makes is not from teens. It's not from this audience that this law would affect. Teen revenue is only around 1%. So if you lost a good portion of that, you're obviously not going to lose it all. Maybe you lose a bit. It's not really going to affect it that much. Obviously, you'd rather it not affect it whatsoever, but if it has to happen, it may slightly dampen the business on that end. But overall, I think that it is a slight negative for Meta, but it is something that is now resolved. So obviously, there's still little minor details that needs to get worked out, but something lifted off the back Meta. I think Meta over the long term is still a buy now, but you guys know my stance. I think it will drop further down, which is when I'd like to enter a position. Overall, I think it's a good thing for society, but I do think it is kind of stupid that they're punishing Meta for something like this when parents should be able to handle their kids. I think that social media is really bad for children, and obviously it should be monitored, but I think that parents should really have the responsibility for that. They're punishing Meta for something that parents should be responsible for. It's your job as parent to control what your kid is doing, and it's because parents nowadays are lazy and they don't want to interact with their children. They let them go watch Instagram reels at dinner as they sit in a different room and scroll on Instagram instead of sitting down with the family and talking with them, discussing and having interaction with other humans. I think a lot of this fault is to be blamed on parents as a society, and obviously this step may change things, but realistically, I think either teens are just going to get around it or they're just going to use different apps more, or just I really don't think that this is the issue that needs to be addressed. I think it really needs to be on parents to really take care of stuff like this. Anyways, bit of off topic there. On to the next thing. We have Rubrik earnings. This came out after the market closed today. Something to note. Right before market close, I did sell 20% of my Rubrik position. The stock was up 11% today before earnings, and I was like, whew, had quite a run up. I was up 87% altogether on my position. Now I was looking at maybe trimming a little bit regardless, and now I was like, okay, big upward move here from previous cybersecurity earnings reports. So I was like, you know what? Let me sell 20%. And as of right now, the stock is down 7% after these earnings, so maybe I made the right move. However, as we will get into, their numbers were very good. They had a triple beat. They had total revenue of 427.3 million. Subscription revenue was 95% of that. Net new subscription ARR was 96 million for the quarter. They had 1.75 billion in cash and cash equivalents on balance sheet, and they had total revenue grow 38% year over year. They had an adjusted EPS of 0.2, And the Americas grew 33% year over year, and international accelerated to 52% year over year. So they were expanding very well into the international markets. They even had a UK investment worth 500 million. Onto the conference call, full year revenue was raised to 1.685 to 1.693 billion. Full year EPS was raised to 0.47 to 0.53. Full year free cash flow was raised to 323 to 333 million, and management clarified the raised ARR guidance is all organic growth and does not have any reliance on the recent acquisition of Strata Identity. So, very good pure numbers, very good guidance from the management team as well, and very good execution. I don't think you can really point to any negative thing from the thing. I was a very solid report, pretty spot on. I mean, obviously, maybe you could have revenue a little higher. Maybe you have to. It's a really good report, and I think that the stock was maybe priced a little high. I think a pullback in the whole cybersecurity space is due, which is why I did sell out of 20% of my position before, but I still do have a decent amount of portfolio weighted in Rubrik. It's around 6%. For a company like ServiceNow, I also think I have around 6 to 8%. But still is a decent sized chunk of the portfolio. So I still do believe in the company. I just did think it was priced a little high right now. Net retention rate also remained very high at 119%, which is very good. That means for every customer from last year, that customer is not only staying, they're also buying 20% more products from the company, which is what you really like to see. You like to see that, especially anything over 100 is really good, because you also have to keep in mind that they're going to bring in more customers. So if every customer is spending not only the same amount, but more every year, and they're bringing in more customers, that's really going to accelerate all of the other metrics for the company. Subscription AR contribution margin expanded to 14%. And overall, the bottom line from this report was that they were scaling effectively, and management has executed well, and they're seeing a lot of core demand acceleration. And then, as I said before, they also had a UK investment of 500 million. They're expanding over there. I like it. It's very good, and I don't think you can complain about anything. It's as simple as that. The stock went down. Hey, if you don't have a position in Rubrik, you like what you heard, which I do. Maybe you want to open one. I do think we might see a broader pullback in the cybersecurity space or sector in the coming months or coming weeks or whatever it is, and I think that would be a very good time to enter into some of these names, because I think that obviously they are all very richly valued, but I think for good reason. So maybe you want to buy a little now, then wait a little and see if there is another dip, or maybe you just want to wait. Either way, it's up to you, but based on the numbers and metrics and guidance, it's looking very good for Rubrik and for the whole cybersecurity space. On to three stocks to buy before September: AMD, Celsius, Netflix. And I'm going to keep this nice and short. I've spoken about all three of these quite a lot on the channel. AMD, as you guys know, my biggest position. Celsius, one of my biggest positions. And Netflix, a relatively newer position, but I think it is still a great opportunity. Of these three, I think Celsius has the of these three, I think in the long term, Celsius has the biggest opportunity here. I think that's the next 5 to 10 plus years. Then I think AMD has the best opportunity for the next 3 years, and I think Netflix has a lot safer floor, I should say. Like, I don't think Netflix stock will, worst case scenario, I think it will give you a return somewhere around what the market would give you. Like, if everything went to shit for the company, everything's like, oh, everything's terrible, I think it would do in line with the S&P 500, which is a very safe floor. Companies like Celsius and AMD, it's more so Celsius. I think that there it is slightly bit riskier than AMD a little bit, because I do think AMD with the pure numbers they're going to be putting up, I think they should be going to an $1,500 stock over the coming years. However, with a stock like AMD, it is a little harder to deal with if you're a newer investor, I want to say, because a lot of that growth could get front run and the valuation could go up a lot because a lot is going to be priced in. So for a stock like AMD, you kind of need to know when to get out, because although I think that the numbers aren't going to peak for a while, the stock could very well peak before those numbers peak. So you kind of have to know what you're doing to understand when the valuation is getting too high and you might want to pull out of the company. But I do think all three of these companies are excellent buys for short term. And as you've seen, I've talked about Celsius a lot and Netflix. AMD has been kind of dead for the past 3 months, not really moving. Celsius had a nice move up, and so has Netflix over the past couple weeks and months. But I think all three are still a good buy today, especially if you don't have a position in any of them. I think they're all really attractive price for the short and long term. So hope you guys enjoyed this quick video. Leave me a comment down below with a stock you want me to research next, and I'll feature you guys in the next video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day.